order. Since I didn't call on anybody, I'll say a prayer. Father, we thank you for this day and for the beautiful season that it is. I pray, Father, you'll help each of us as individuals and as community leaders and as community servants to remember the reason for the season. And Father, I just pray a special prayer for our 911 district, that you would prosper it fairly so that the public administration and the board and the citizens could receive the best from each of us. Lord, we ask these things in your Son's name, Jesus Christ, and for his sake. Amen. Amen. Vincent, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Rice, will you lead us in the pledge to the Texas flag?
Yes, sir. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment on anything on the agenda? Even anybody can talk if they have a comment. The way I understand it. The lawyer tell me if I'm not, if that's not right.
It's really for the public, but if it's on the agenda, it's not out of line.
Okay, approval of the minutes, Miss Allison.
Yeah,
Is there
they're in your packet. I don't really have. Yeah, no, but that's not the one with any corrections.
Okay. So this is the minutes from our annual meeting,
February the 28th of 24.
February 28th. Is there any questions about any of the meeting minutes from the board? It's on front and back.
I've had an opportunity to look at the minutes before the meeting, and I move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Have a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. BR2. Y'all know what I'm thinking.
BR5.
BR 25-01-1 resolution, receive a report, hold a discussion, and acknowledge the receipt of funds from Proposition 8, Next Generation 911 Service Fund, House Bill 9, Texas Broadband Infrastructure Fund in the amount of $1,082,797.50 for Next Generation 911 implementation. Mr. Swanson.
We, between now and our annual meeting last, the aforementioned minutes, had the opportunity to participate in soliciting these funds from the Broadband Infrastructure Fund of the state of Texas. We took that opportunity, applied, and were successful in receiving the amount noted here. And we would like to suggest the recommendation or the approval of this resolution, which accepts those funds into the district's fund balance for the express implementation of Next Gen 911.
So if everybody remembers, the last couple of meetings we have held, we've had a huge issue, in my opinion, with the budget of the Abilene-Taylor County 911 Board. from what I understand from talking to Mr. Swanson, is that this fund money, when we accept it, will be used for the implementation of the Next Gen 911. Next Gen 911 is not going to cost, is going to cost more than this amount. But the other fund that will help pay for this is what?
The grant that we did accept the last annual meeting, such that we now have in a little bit excess of $3 million for the Next Gen 911 project.
And those monies are designated specifically for Next Gen 911.
Yes, sir.
So if I'm understanding correctly, there will be no money expended from the 911 budget for Next Gen 91 that didn't come from a grant or this House Bill 9,
Correct. Yes, sir.
which is very good news, in my opinion. Does the board have any questions about this or want to make any comment?
I see no negatives with this. This actually is a good thing, helps us to accomplish the task before us. So I'm in support.
Thanks for doing the work on the grant.
You're welcome.
All right. Anybody else? I will entertain a motion to acknowledge the receipt of funds from Proposition 8, specifically to be used for Next Gen 911 upgrades in Abilene-Taylor County 911 District.
I'd make a recommendation that we receive the monies that are allocated through the avenue of the resolution, which is within the packet.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. BR 2502. Receive a report, hold a discussion, and acknowledge the district administration's recommendation of awarding the Next Generation 911 SENet and call handling equipment project to AT&T Enterprises. Mr. Swanson.
Yes, in the recent past, we have offered up an RFP, solicited responses, received a valid and compliance response by AT&T for the Next Gen communication system upgrade, or Next Gen 911. And in this resolution, we note that the total project cost with support over a 5-year period is $3.954,674.80. With our first year cost, those covered by the grant and House Bill 9 funds of $2,585,540.30. It does have a second through a 5th year cost annually of about $342,283.63. That initial cost is covered by the grant and by the House Bill 9, which comes in a little bit over $3 million, and allows us for some GIS upgrades as well that go in parallel with this. So this project is fully funded. This contract is noted at the amounts I've proposed, and our out-year expenses, we're working on the balance of what we get to turn off with these new technologies, but we believe there's a net savings annually going forward. So we would recommend the award of this contract to AT&T and allow us to continue to implement the Next Gen 911 system.
Questions, comments?
So, Mr. Swanson, I know that when you met with the proposers at your pre-proposal meeting, there was discussion about options. Can you discuss those, please?
Yes, in the contract, you note that we elected for 3 options, or 4 options. I'll turn the page if I can do so quickly, but One of them is a text to 911. One is some validation of GIS services every time we upload GIS elements. Another is the subscription of services for maintenance, and there's a fourth. But we did elect for the 4 options.
My understanding is these are enhancements that the current 911 district does not currently possess, correct?
Correct. Are there any other questions about the contract? This will provide the next-gen 911 upgrade at both the A and the B site for the Abilene City Dispatch as well as the Taylor County.
Can you talk about the timeline, please?
The project, if we do a PO very quickly after this, the lead time on the project is scheduling resources to accomplish this work. We believe that to be out about 3-month, 4-month range. So the work would actually not begin until about the end of fourth quarter or so, or first quarter, sorry. It would conclude by the end of the year. So we believe about a 9-month period of execution.
So I have 2, maybe 3, but 2 questions for sure. So this next gen that we're talking about now, next generation 911, is the total cost 2-point-something million that you said, or is there more to be that we're going to have to pay after the initial cost?
There is a combination of one-time costs and the first year of reoccurring costs equal to 2.5 million that would be covered by the grant in House Bill 9, the approximate 2.5 million. That reoccurring cost is that 342,000 that's noted in the resolution across all 5 years. It's just that first year is incorporated as the first time one-time costs. So that 342,000 approximately is the reoccurring cost. That will be offset by the savings of that we could turn off of the older technologies. We have a list of that. We're still trying to run all the numbers, but it is our goal to have a net zero impact on the costs from the district's fund for reoccurring services. So different way of saying that shorter is our old costs are equal or more than our current proposed reoccurring costs.
So I just want to make sure I have this straight. What do we pay now per year?
In a big round number, we pay about 800 and something thousand in reoccurring costs. A portion of that is what we get to turn off. We hope that exceeds, we're looking for that to exceed the 342 of the proposed reoccurring costs here. We get to turn off more things that we don't need as a result of the new technologies.
Okay, and when we turn off the things that we have now, are there going to be any cost associated with next generation 911 in any of in City of Abilene, Taylor County? Are there going to be costs associated with new equipment that's going to be needed to accommodate next gen 911?
No, we don't anticipate any effect to either dispatch at City or Taylor County.
So do you 2 ladies, do y'all grasp, or I didn't mean it that way. Do y'all have any hesitancies about this new next generation deal as far as y'all's area's responsibility?
Because you're not having resolutions.
And it's going to help.
If I remember right from the last meeting in our discussion, we really don't have a choice.
No.
We have to go with.
Correct.
We have
There-
to upgrade.
And we drew the simile, if we think of the old system being copper-based and the new version is fiber-based, the telcos in general are leaving the copper cable plants behind. We need to move to the fiber solution. The fiber solution also presents an ability to create redundancy and a different kind of path opportunity for those circuits, such that if something were to interrupt that call to one of the dispatchers, it would just pick up and switch over to the new circuit. Previously, with that copper routing, as you can believe, any copper wiring, it's got little connectors all along the way. There's no opportunity to divert that path. So the ability to use digital signal processing to divert paths and create redundant paths is one of the big wins in all of this. One of the other options, we were asking about enhancements, that's the fourth one, is that we actually opted in for a wireless opportunity for some of that redundant path. So even if we lost all terrestrial signals, we would have a wireless path.
It
That was the
also
fourth one.
interconnects, especially within the state of Texas, but all PSAPs, meaning there's not the lag between, I mean, it'll automatically locate which one, and it'll be split second from when they call the dispatchers call to another PSAP, it's automatically connected. It's an interconnection which is a newer technology. Now it's a lot more of a time delay between there. It doesn't automatically read the locations where the caller's calling from and stuff.
Troy, did you say that wireless enhancement was already included in this final print cost?
It was not in the core proposal. It was one of those four options. That was the fourth one I was trying to remember. It's the opportunity for, we have redundant paths. What we basically are electing through that option is one of those actually has a wireless component. So we're terrestrial for the most part for the speed and the capability of that system. But if we have to fail over to the other one, we start enlisting the support of wireless solutions to make sure we have a full path.
A huge fan of continuity. Sounds great.
So what are the potential roadblocks that we have in front of us right now?
We don't envision anything. We envision this to be a smooth implementation. The vendor has all the skills, the hardware, the software, the people to pull this off. And we don't anticipate any roadblocks whatsoever, or hurdles or challenges.
Thank you. You mentioned something about the GIS upgrades.
Yes, so
Hang on
in
just a
our,
second.
okay,
I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same thing. So the GIS upgrades would be included in these monies that we're talking about now?
yes, sir. So as part of our proposal for the grant, not the House Bill 9 money that came to us as an earmark, but with regard to the grant, the project that I proposed and wrote up had three components, three project sub-elements. One was the City of Abilene dispatch upgrade, the PSAPs for the primary and backup site for Taylor County. And there was a third sub-project that was the GIS upgrades. We knew in the background that the GIS database needed to be upgraded to a version that was compliant with Next Gen 911. There's something called the NEMA standard, another acronym, that the GIS system has to accommodate. So through the grant monies, we're able to reimburse a GIS contractor to perform those services. So there's approximately $300,000 of the grant that's earmarked for that process. Now, the city needed to achieve that already, so we were already in the process of proceeding on that exercise, and we only have a remaining small portion of that to complete, and we don't anticipate that to even clear 6 figures. So we will accomplish the GIS sub-project on that grant through the grant funding to achieve that NEMA standard for the Next Gen 911 system. One of the 4 options that we elected for is to actually validate that data on a go-forward basis. So there's a bar or a metric we have to meet on the quality of that GIS data, or they won't upload it for the dispatcher's use. that bar is 95% correct in its data presentation. So we have to meet that bar. We exercise the option in the contract, and this is the tie together, to have AT&T on for every one of those transactions and those upgrades of GIS database to ensure that quality is the 95th percentile, because if we don't, they would reject that data. So through that option, we guarantee that the GIS data will always be up to date and current.
Okay, which one of these two, the grant or the House Bill 9? If we don't use all the money, what happens to it?
So the earmark comes to us as a disbursement, and we put that in our fund. We spend that first because it's cash in the bank. We then solicit for reimbursement for the grant against all of our expenses to date. There's a process for that monthly that we do, and we receive those funds based on our request for reimbursement. When we've consumed what we need to cover all of our allowable expenses, there will be ultimately some balance left in that grant. And we will have not seek reimbursement for that, thus not having received those funds. So there'll be funds as a remainder that will not be dispersed to us as part of the grant.
And so it's unused money that we had access to.
Correct. We didn't have a valid and allowable expense, very likely.
And the valid and allowable has been completely explored to get everything
Correct.
we possibly can out of that.
Yes, we seek reimbursement on everything we can to get it paid for that way.
I don't have any more questions.
I heard you say, Troy, that it upgrades Taylor County and Abilene. And does that automatically upgrade, or does that include our emergency center that we have for
Oh, the backup.
the backup?
Yeah, so we call them A and B sites, primary, secondary. There's some slang too that's used to reference the two sites, but
I used the wrong one.
yeah, we have, the dispatch has their customary primary function area where they perform their function. In the Abilene City Hall building in the basement, there's a secondary site for both entities, and that site will be upgraded as well.
That's
It's-
included, or
yeah, it's
automatic,
Yes,
or whatever.
yes.
So the plan with the city of Abilene, Mr. Rice, is to keep those at that location?
So the backup site, which is in the basement, is actually adjacent to Vincent and his offices currently. It is backup. It's not big, but it is functional. And so it'd allow us time to continue operations until we could restore whatever services we had lost.
And the EOC, you don't have any plans to do away, but the EOC area is gonna stay there too?
Well, the EOC area is not going away. What we are doing with that area is we are multitasking its purpose. It can be used for EOC, but it can be used for a variety of other things, such as training and other activities. But the space will not turn into offices, no, sir.
Thank you.
In any way, will this make the backup dispatch, is it a true backup dispatch, or is this going to be something that still kind of dials into the current dispatch?
Yeah, backup has to be taken with a grain of salt. It's a backup site, but it is not a full rendition, carbon copy, duplicate of services at the primary sites. So yes, it does have some constraints in capacity and capability.
And are those constraints? I'm just trying to think out loud here for a second. Next Gen 911 has nothing to do with those constraints.
The next gen 911 capability will fully be presented there. It's more in like the number of phone lines, the circuits, the capabilities of the technologies that are employed by the dispatch folks.
Do we have access in those backup sites for NCIC and
There's the ability, if we have a terminal we can take over, it's a whole process. It takes several days to get the equipment there, and then we have to notify UPS and have about it.
We have before my time, but I do understand we have stood it up as a true backup capability in the absence of performance at the police department proper. So we have experienced what it means to operate that facility and leverage that.
I can't remember sheriff ever having to go to the backup, have we?
Not for long periods of time. I think we had to, when we had the big ice storm,
Yeah, that's probably what it
but it wasn't for a long period.
Okay. I don't have any other questions on this BR 2502 resolution. Do we have any more from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll be happy to make a recommendation that we accept the resolution and award the contract to AT&T.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye?
Any opposed? Motion passes. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Okay.